Welcome to the Nicole Small Show, where we give you straight talk with no chaser. Here, we discuss issues from the White House to your house. And now, here's your host, Nicole Small.
Good morning and welcome to the Nicole Small Show. Today is Tuesday, March the 30th. And we're going to talk about a few things. One, I want to talk about this voter suppression in Georgia and the boycotts that are starting this week. Also, I want to revisit what happened yesterday with the first day of the trial for the George Floyd case. All of these things are truly important. Also, just to let you know, today I have a commitment that I have to make, so the show will be a shorter version today, but we're still going to dive into it and get started. And before we go into what's going on across this country, yesterday City Council had their executive meeting, and I did listen in, and it was about the budget. And here we go again about this whole attempt to defund the City Charter Commission. I want you to know, because these are your dollars that they are talking about using for funding the charter. The charter, our next fiscal year begins July 1. And because the election is on August the 3rd, now by state statute, our term ends August the 6th as far as us meeting, but there are still things that have to be done after the election of where we will still incur expenses. So we will still have to pay staff. They must archive all of the meeting minutes, all of the documents that have been submitted and have been created by the charter. And it's a certain way that you must do that. And of course, it has to be done digitally. It's 2021. But it's really important that this work is done before closing out the books. So we did propose funding for 3 months. We will go through the month of October. And here we go again. Scott Benson wants to talk about, well, how are they going to spend $100,000, let alone $200,000 in a matter of 32 days? We have explained this process explicitly for this fiscal year. This is not just this charter revision commission that has to do work after the actual election. This is the process for all charter revision commissions that have been elected. So now he's trying to say that, well, they're only going to be in operation for 32 days. That's not true. So I want you to know that when we asked for, when we proposed our budget, $270,000, that would include the campaigning and education phase for the 32 days, in addition to still having to pay our staff and some meeting stipends that for some of the commissioners. But advertising is a huge cost, and so is the printing of materials. And then we have to also pay for the service to make sure that we close out the books financially, which means that we have to get a CPA, in addition to archiving all of the information, the data, the videos of the meetings. All of that has to be archived before we're completely done and close out the books. A lot of you understand what this process looks like, especially when I talk about closing out the books. So you know that everything will not end the day of the election. So don't be fooled if you hear your council person feeding into this garbage. And then you have Councilman McAllister wanting to question, well, I mean, are they going to be able to just spend these funds however they want to on anything they want? Have we ever spent our funding on anything outside of something that applies to the charter? No. And where are all of these questions when Mike Duggan comes to you asking to reallocate money for CARES Act funds to go to anybody else except for Detroiters who the money was earmarked for? Where are all of these questions when Mike Duggan comes to you about the sale of a city asset like the State Fairgrounds? Where are all of these questions when he came to you about this proposal in? They weren't there. But now you want to try to question, oh, well, we're going to have to pay attention to what they spend money on. No, you pay attention to how all of the money for the city of Detroit is being spent. Another great thing is that during the financial review meeting yesterday, I did get word from Sister Michelle that when the charter came up, one of the commissioners stated that they would like to see, they would like to hear from the people about the charter because this is the people's charter. Well, go figure. This review commission, the Financial Review Board, they get it, but you're going to tell me the city council doesn't. And then there was another commissioner, I believe her last name is Eubanks, and she said, yeah, maybe we can have the charter commission to come and to make a presentation, which I think absolutely will be phenomenal. So I'll be looking forward to that coming up. And I think that that's, I think that that's it for what we have for the Charter Commission. And then let's move into, what are you guys saying? Let's move into this boycott. I want to read this to you. Hold on, let me put it up. The boycott for the businesses that are not supporting the people who are against this voter suppression. Where is it? I have it. Okay. So on Friday, which is this Friday, April the 2nd, you are asked to purchase, not to purchase or support certain businesses as a means to make our voices heard over the recent voter suppression laws that have been signed in the state of Georgia. The signing of this legislation by, you know, that jerk Governor Kemp in Georgia. Please, listen, everybody got to call their folks in Georgia, tell them, let's get started now. We got to get him on up out of there. You know, we need to just go and support Stacey right now. Like, we cannot wait. He needs to go. That Brian Kemp, and across the country, we need to make this happen. He needs to go. All right. So, you know, he signed the legislation to support the voter suppression. They're talking about less use of drop boxes, restrictions on giving out water to people, and a couple of other things. But where is the, okay, so they're talking about how this will primarily affect African Americans, and so this will start on Friday. Now listen, this is what the boycott will include: theatrical plays, theaters, and movies. All national and international companies headquartered in the state of Georgia as of the signing date of George Kemp's new suppression law will be boycotted. And the reason is, obviously, they have been silent around this issue. And I agree with them. Your silence is consent. And if you're consenting to such actions which take us back, you know, decades, then you know what, you should be boycotted. That's the bottom line. They're also saying that travel, they're asking everyone to fill up on their gasoline on Thursday, April the 1st. Don't purchase a ticket from any of the flights in or out of Hartsfield International Airport, especially Delta Airlines. This is what I'm talking about. Hit them in the pockets. Hit them in the pockets. This is what's supposed to be done. Hit them in their pockets. They're going to support an effort to suppress your voter rights, and then going to ask for your doggone money. Get them good. Get them now. I'm with it. Then they talk about retail boycott. Pay attention to this. Home Depot, Ace Hardware. Now, I'm going to need y'all to come together with me. I'm not a fan of this establishment, but I see y'all in line, whether it's the one in Novi, whether it's the one in Allen Park up on the hill, this Chick-fil-A place. You know, some of y'all act like y'all addicted to it, but Chick-fil-A is on the list, people. Do you hear me? Chick-fil-A is on the list for you to boycott. I need y'all not to go to Chick-fil-A on Friday. You hear me? Now, we could do it. And I don't know why y'all all in all that chicken anyway. Y'all know that y'all could get better chicken at home, or go to the black establishment where the real chicken is being cooked. I'm just telling you. So y'all can't go to Chick-fil-A on Friday. I need y'all to be strong and to be able to stay strong and to hold out on this boycott. So you can't go to Chick-fil-A on Friday. No Coca-Cola products. So you could go to Coca-Cola's website and look up all of the products that they sell. We're boycotting Coca-Cola products until they give. Okay. And they come out and they go against this legislation that's suppressing the vote in Georgia. All right. Anyone else? Or just talk about how important it is that they show the impact of our spending power. And we need to do more of this to show the impact of our spending power because it is so important. Um, you have a few people, including Martin Luther King, the third junior son, who was saying that these Republicans didn't think this out. The last time that they tried to suppress the vote, they see what happened. That people came out stronger, flipped the Senate, and so that's another reason why I'm bringing this point to you, that there needs to be some work done right now to talk about unseating this governor in Georgia. Better now than to wait until later. So I hope that effort really, hopefully it's already in the works. That's what I'm hoping for. This is the part I like. Guess who's speaking out against this issue? The African American Ministers Leadership Council. Look at the pastors, how they organize and they getting together to speak out against this. Go figure. We need a little bit more of that in Detroit. You know, like to speak out against this oppression from Mike Duggan. Good luck with us getting that done. So again, make sure that you go online and you take a look at the Coca-Cola products and also the retail stores that will be boycotted until they step up and they publicly make a statement around being against this voter suppression that's taking place. This is so important, really, really important. And those of us here, we can support that protest too. And that's the way it's supposed to be. When you talk about the civil rights movement, it wasn't a civil rights movement that was just here in Detroit or just in Georgia. It was a collective effort across the country because we understood if it's happening in Georgia one day, it could be happening in Detroit the next day. That's why it's important for all of us to make sure that we support this effort. I know that I will. Let's take a caller. Good morning and welcome to the Nicole Small Show.
Good morning, Nicole.
Hey, Stevetta.
Listen, I just want to say two things about the charter and Scott Benson. You know, we got to let folks know that we got to vote for the charter. And if they have a community meeting, we got to come in a great turnout. So we let them know, because now just look what happened to the Art Museum Commission. Look just what happened. That's why it's important to have citizens to come and say something.
I agree.
And the next thing I want to say is that we got to truly boycott. I got folks that we done already got started, that we know folks love Coca-Cola. We started last week. Even a friend of mine was called and said she hadn't had a Coke in a week or so. So that's what we got to do. But not only that, let me tell you, I've been even looking for a new car. I'm not buying no car, General Motors or nothing else. We are the Motor City.
Yeah.
You know what? GM give more money, Chrysler, Ford give more money to these state representatives here and all over the United States. We need to start doing them.
Yes.
Okay? And if it's necessary, we got to let these legislators know up in Lansing. They ain't no good either. They trying to come on. Okay?
That's right.
And all those folks that go up north want to fish and shop. Hell, we need to stop going up to Traverse City. Marquette. You know, we travel north.
Yes, we do. Yes, we do. That's true. That's true. Thank you.
I tell them we got to boycott stuff here too.
Yes, we do. It has to be a collective effort. Thank you so much, Stevetta. And
you have a good morning.
You too. And let's talk about this whole piece with GM and how they're blasting. What happened to this? Oh, Mary Barra as a racist. Now, don't you remember when Mary Barra came out in 2019 with this whole diversity and inclusion board that she was talking about, and she put people on there. I don't have the list of everyone because I tried to find it. I know Dennis Archer Jr. was a person. I believe Tanya Allen was on there. African Americans. So they can use their dollars at GM to support racism and to increase inclusion and diversity. So now people are coming out and they are calling her a racist. They are blasting, and she's the CEO, Mary Barra, as a racist. Leaders of several major Black-owned media companies, including Byron Allen and Ice Cube, are accusing General Motors CEO Mary Barra of being a racist for what they described as her refusal to meet with them. Here we go again. They asked for an hour-long Zoom meeting with her. The alternative, and then she resigned. And the alternative was either meet with them or for her to resign. I think that that's pretty clear. Meet with us to discuss our issues or to resign. There was, according to a full page 3A, and this was in Sunday's Detroit Free Press when I had read this, accusing Barra of refusing to meet with them consistently over time and after multiple requests. So this just wasn't one independent request for her to meet with them. They put in a full page ad, and it's signed by the heads of 7 Black-owned media companies, including, of course, a rapper Ice Cube, who co-founded Pro Basketball League, Big 3 TV film production company Cube Vision, and contract with Black America. Who else is on here? Byron Allen's Allen Media, former NBA player Ulysses Jr. Bridgman, who bought Ebony Media last year. So these are some heavy hitters who are in the media industry who asked to meet with her, and she has declined the offer several times on several requests. I think that this is an issue. They said no one is happy with GM. The Black-owned media group wants GM to allocate at least 5%. Just 5% of its budget to Black-owned media companies. Listen, people, Black folks been buying GM cars for a long time, and it's not just enough for you to think that you can hire us. I absolutely believe that giving them 5% of their generated profit, where a lot of it is coming from us, what's wrong with investing that into Black-owned media? Why not? But the problem I really have with this issue is the fact that I have not seen a statement from this woman, and there is no, so therefore I don't understand why she wouldn't want to meet with this group. Is it because they Black men? Where are the Black sisters on this list? I need to do a little bit of digging on that, because you know what, we should have some Black sisters on this list. Now that's one thing. I don't see any Black sisters on this Black-owned, but I would assume that them brothers would make sure that the sisters with their own media company would get some of it. Doesn't Regina King have a media company? There are quite a few. So we want to make sure that the sisters are included in being able to benefit from this 5% that they are requesting. So to date, she has not responded. The ad says less than 0.5% goes to media companies owned by African Americans, calling out the horrendous, considering that we as African Americans make up approximately 14% of the population in America, and we spend billions of dollars on these vehicles. Great point. Like, we're investing into your business to make sure that it's a continued success. There are a lot of other cars that people can go out here and buy, but we really need to consider this and take a look at what's going on. I just think the sheer nerve of her not even wanting to meet with them. They're asking for 5%, and they're saying that she and the GM, excuse me, not just she, because they do have a board of directors now, they invest less than 0.5%, and they're only asking for 5%. So keep that in mind. Make sure that you pay attention to this story as well. This is interesting. Business as usual. You know, it's like when something is sensationalized, and remember when the whole Starbucks incident occurred with the Black brothers being disrespected, and then the whole world just opened up. All of these corporations were talking about how they're gonna do better and this, that, and the other. I still don't see a lot of us in these C-suite positions, okay, which is what I always said we need to be demanding. But however, you know, they all claim that this is one of this, and diversity and inclusion board is one of the things that came out of that. It's called good PR. It's called CYA, covering your ass. That's what they were doing. And so what they did is what people always do. Create a doggone task force or create some type of group, and then they put people on it who look like us, and then nothing ever comes of it. I mean, to ask for 5% to be invested in Black-owned media, that's not a lot considering what we contribute to this business. And that's why I tell people all the time, you know, the governor is phenomenal in creating a task force, okay, Governor Whitmer, but so is City Council. All of them had task force, and yet and still we don't see a lot resulting out of a lot of those task force. So they're in name only. So just kind of be cautious, especially when you see the people that they're appointing to some of these task force. You know, if you didn't have a voice before you got on the board, I sure don't expect you to have one once you get appointed. That's just typically the way that it goes. So that's usually why we get nothing. It's a do nothing task force, a lot of them. So be cognizant of that. Then what else? What else are we getting screwed over on across this country? Before I get into this boomfoolery that took place with the first day of the George Floyd trial yesterday. I don't think I have anything else. So let me go into the first day of the George Floyd's trial before I play this snippet. Yesterday, of course, the officer Derek Chauvin, this was his trial in the death of George Floyd. And where is this? This began on Monday. I want to get to the statement from the MMA. Here it is. So yesterday they had a witness who happened to be an MMA fighter. So you know that's like boxing on steroids, okay? Like they get down in this MMA fight and they kicking and everything, seriously, all right? And so his name is Donald Williams II. He testified and he talked about his own experiences about the, what do you call it, the I don't know, the positioning that Derek the officer Derek Chauvin was using on George Floyd. And he said that it's called, now this is from an MMA fighter, and you will see them like literally straddling their opponent and having their knee on someone. It's called the blood choke. And this is from a MMA professional fighter. He said he witnessed it. It's called a blood choke. He said, and the reason why he knows is it's also, you have to pay attention to how the officer kept adjusting himself to apply more pressure on George Floyd as he lays on the ground. They talk about how you could see the life coming out of this man, George Floyd, as more pressure was being applied, as you could see the officer rocking back and forth. You know, one thing that stands out to me in that video is the look on his face. And then when he put his hands in his pocket, you know, he was so proud. It was like a joke to him. It was a joke to him. You know, remember how we watch the reenactment on some of these movies when they're lynching Black people, and how you would see these white supremacists laughing? That's what that reminds me of. It's when you look at the look on an officer's face, and as he's rocking back and forth, and then he puts his hands in his pocket. You know, what a punk. You talking about hiding behind a badge? That's definitely hiding behind a badge. So they say that it was performed, it's called a blood choke on Floyd. He also testified how he watched Floyd gasp for air and his eyes rolled to the back of his head. So he too had witnessed this, and also how you could see the blood starting to come out of George Floyd's nose. And none of those officers wanted to stop it. None of those officers wanted to stop it. Let's talk about the charges against Chauvin, who's 45. He pled not guilty Just listen to this. He pled not guilty to second-degree unintentional murder. Second-degree unintentional murder. You put your knee on his neck, and then you rock back and forth, and then you have your weak-ass colleagues to hold off the rest of the crowd, and you gonna plead not guilty to even an unintentional murder? Yeah, digest that. So no accountability. So he pled not guilty to that. He also pled not guilty to third-degree murder and not guilty to second-degree manslaughter charges. So we talked about an incident that took place last week on the West Side with a woman with mental health challenges and how she was drugged into a store. I just want you to remember what I said. If a Black business owner in the suburbs had did that to a Chaldean or Arabic woman, Palestinian, what they would have done. Imagine if Black officers went around doing this to white men and women. What would the outcome be? I would like to see what the charges would be. This is first-degree murder. You can't tell me that when this asshole left out his house that day, that he didn't have any intentions on killing somebody. Might not have been George Floyd, but he surely must have had some intentions on killing somebody Black. Then when you look at the video of when they're arresting him, what was all the resistance? Now let's just be honest, big as he was, that could have been like he could have swung some of them around or something. You wanted to kill him, and that's exactly what you did. And you have the other ones who should be accessories to murder because they sat back and watched. Yesterday, before I play the opening statements, I also want you to know who was a witness yesterday. The 911 dispatcher. You know what she said? She told her supervisor, something doesn't seem right about this. When they called it in, something doesn't seem right about this. And this is when I say, I support the protest and everything. I get out there and protest myself. Y'all know that. I'm for raising hell for the right reason. They call that getting into good trouble. Excuse me, not raising hell. But when are we going to change our approach? For more than 9 minutes, he put his knee on a Black man's neck just because the man was Black. I don't know about this protesting in the middle of the street. I think we should be protesting at their house, right? And then when they don't want to come home, you should go to the school where their kids go to school. Then you should go to their mama house. Oh, if their mama not home, you should go to their spouse's mama house. Why not? Let's talk about the people in George Floyd's family who are impacted by this. Hell, I done shed a tear. Okay, never met the man a day in my life. So you have not just George Floyd. So this is what I'm saying about, this shouldn't just impact the officer. This should impact his immediate family. They should be inconvenienced. Ain't nothing wrong with them having a little fear. Why not? We didn't care about the fear that he was enduring. We let these people get off scot-free because this officer was seen walking around in a store like a Home Depot or something, footloose and fancy-free without a care in the world, less than 30 days after he committed this heinous crime. So then you have George Floyd's siblings. You have his aunts and his uncles. Okay? See, don't think that, and this man called out for his mother who was already deceased. When somebody dies, you have loved ones who are left to deal with that pain. And it's one thing for somebody who you love to be murdered It's another thing to sit there and to have to keep reliving. And you talk about for 9 minutes. Not like they were just, and I am not supporting this. So please let me preface with this statement, what I'm about to say. I'm not saying that this is right. They didn't even have the decency. They made him suffer. They tortured him. It was nothing quick, but you had no business touching him in the first place. So I want you to process that. And then he has children. He has a daughter. So what about her? And we keep going out attacking these businesses. And I think this is the reason why these officers keep doing it, because we don't never bring that smoke to their house. For more than 9 minutes, he had his knee on that man's neck. And we're going to go tear up a business? I don't understand that. And we all know, once you go to their house, they going to go someplace else. Let me tell you something about these folks out here with this Black Lives Matter. It's not just black folks. You got a lot of these white folks who participate. And let me tell you what they good for. They good for finding out something about somebody else's business. All right. So they going to tell you where the mama live. They going to tell you if they got a cabin up north. Well, then y'all all can get in the caravan or whatever, or go get that charter bus and you can ride on up there up north or whatever. But I'm going to tell you right here and right now, it's no reason why that man should have felt comfortable walking around the store less than 30 days after he done murdered this man. And the reason why he felt that he can do that, because we out here in the streets tearing up an Apple store instead of raising hell on his block. You know, when they do this kind of shit, excuse me, but when they do it, they already know what our reaction gonna be. He had his knee on a man's neck for 9 minutes, and we're gonna go tear up a business. Forget that the phone keep ringing off the hook. You know, when his family is irritated by that. First of all, your wife knew what kind of person you was in the first place. I don't care. I'm tired of us always having compassion for everybody else, and you see what they doing to our own people. 9 minutes and 29 seconds. He thought this was a joke, and he's not even being charged with first-degree murder. And they don't know if any of these charges gonna stick. They can always get a new cell phone. They can change the number if they have a house phone, but you put that pressure on them outside, they can't change that so easily outside their house or wherever they're going. This is the problem. And he sits here and he pleads not guilty to all of the charges. He wants to take no responsibility, none, for what he did. You think about how long this happened 10 months ago. He's had 10 months to process this. They played this video over again. And you know that he's watched it backwards and forwards with his sorry ass attorney. Because I'm about to play these opening statements. No remorse. No remorse. And we gonna keep protesting in the street. I get it that you want to go tear down the police station. What I'm saying to you is, at some point, we're going to have to change our approach and bring it on home. Because what they keep doing is bringing all of this to our doorstep. We know that what happened to him can happen to any one of us. The white folks understand it, who protesting with us. They get it. Why we don't get it? They get it. And they know that the white folks who doing this have no intentions on changing. None. Look at how they justified this crap with Breonna Taylor. Pay attention to that. Listen to these openings statements from yesterday. It's just a few minutes.
Mr. Derek Chauvin betrayed this badge when he used excessive and unreasonable force upon the body of Mr. George Floyd, that he put his knees upon his neck and his back, grinding and crushing him until the very breath, no, ladies and gentlemen, until the very life were squeezed out of him. You will learn
that Derek Chauvin did exactly what he had been trained to do.
Listen to
over
this.
the course of his 19-year career. The use of force is not attractive, but it is a necessary component of policing.
You will learn that he was well aware that Mr. Floyd was unarmed, that Mr. Floyd had not threatened anyone, that Mr. Floyd was in handcuffs.
When you see these videos pulled back from afar, you will be able to see the Minneapolis police squad car rocking back and forth during this struggle. This was not an easy struggle.
Can you describe what you saw of Mr. Floyd's condition as time progressed here?
The more that the knee was blockly on
It's a witness.
And shimmies were going on, the more you seen Floyd fade away and slowly fade away, and like the fish in a bag, you seen his eyes slowly, pale out and again slowly roll to the back of his eyes.
Well, you're going to learn that it was about a counterfeit $20 bill used at a convenience store. That's all. You will not hear any evidence that Mr. Floyd knew that it was fake or did it on purpose, that the police officers could have written him a ticket and let the court sort it out. Even if he did it on purpose, it was a minor offense, a misdemeanor.
What was Mr. Floyd's actual cause of death? The evidence will show that Mr. Floyd died of a cardiac arrhythmia that occurred as a result of hypertension, his coronary disease, the ingestion of methamphetamine and fentanyl, and the adrenaline flowing through his body, all of which acted to further compromise an already compromised heart.
This was, for example, not a fatal heart event. This was not, for example, a heart attack. You will learn that there was no demonstrated injury whatsoever to Mr. Floyd's heart, as in a heart attack.
So a couple of things I want to point out. So, and I want to be clear, what you heard was the prosecutor who's representing George Floyd, and then you heard the defense attorney who's representing that man. So you hear in the statement, the opening statements from the defense attorney, that we first need to take a look at what really caused George Floyd's death. So what they're trying to say is that it was hypertension, high blood pressure, and that, he had some drugs in his system, some amphetamines, things to speed up your heart and everything. Sound familiar, like Malice Green case? Sound familiar? It was the drugs in the system that killed Malice Green, not the blows to the head by Butson and Nevers. Remember that? But y'all still supported Mike Duggan. How we got such a short-term memory, right? Because Malice Green's life still doesn't mean that much to us, and we will go out here and support Mike Duggan. Okay, I won't get off track, but it really is a great point to make. Great analogy, because you know why? It's factual. It's factual. See, when you say that you protest against the Derek Chauvins of the world, and then you support Mike Duggan, if you support what Mike Duggan did by trying to convince the medical examiner to say that Malice Green died of drugs in his system when he didn't, then you're supporting the efforts of those who support the acts of Derek Chauvin. It's the truth. You might not like it. Those of you who support Mike Duggan, I want you to understand what you're supporting. You can't say that this is wrong and you stand diametrically opposed to the actions of a system that supports this type of behavior, but then you support Mike Duggan. It's the same thing, people. And stop with all of these excuses. It's the same thing. And what I want you to know is it's been going on before Malice Green, and it's still going on after Malice Green. And so if you support Mike Duggan, you support this type of behavior. And you need to know that. Point blank, period. So now they're going to say that being on somebody's neck with a grown man in his knee, okay, and this I don't care if he was a skinny white boy, but he is pretty built or whatever and solid. He was on this man's neck with his knee for over 9 minutes. So you know what I say? Listen, if you a defense attorney, it's your job to prove that the actions of your client, or it wasn't the actions of your client, didn't result in this crime, right? So I think the best way for this defense attorney to prove to us that George Floyd didn't die as a result of this officer applying pressure with his knee directly to George Floyd's neck is for maybe the attorney should lie on the ground and then allow the officer to apply the same kind of pressure to him for the exact amount of time. How about that? If he allows for his client to do that to him, because that's the only way you could prove it. Prove to me that somebody without hypertension and without so-called drugs in a system can have the same amount of pressure applied to them for the same amount of time and they don't lose their life. You know what? Then we can end this trial today. I even think George Floyd's family would go for that. That's the best way to prove it. Prove it. That's not what caused you to die. So let's just find somebody who doesn't have hypertension and doesn't have amphetamines or opioids in their system, so they claim, okay? So let's just find somebody with a cleaner bill of health, and let's have this officer do exactly what he did to George Floyd for the same amount of time, and let's see if that person lives. And then we can have a better understanding of why he died. Let's do that. But you won't do it because you know exactly why he died. Let's take a caller. Good morning. Welcome to the Nicole Small Show.
Good morning. How you doing, Nicole?
Hey, how you doing?
You bring out a good point. You know what I'm saying? That let's let them do that. Get on the ground, handcuffed behind your back. You know what I'm saying? And a knee on your windpipe, your neck, where your air comes supposed to travel through, and see if they live 9 minutes. You know, another thing that got me, I get angry every time I see, hear it and see it, you know, and I tell my wife, I say, you see the anger, you know I'm angry.
Yeah.
Why didn't nobody, look, let's see how the tables would have been if a crowd of black brothers would have beat the stuffings out that officer and wrecked all of them out there.
Yeah.
Let's see how that where would they be in court if they would have knocked him straight the hell out for doing that. We got to stop it. When it's a crowd of us out there, all that talking about stop, because if that would have been my son, they probably would have killed me.
Who you telling?
I would have bust him upside his head with whatever I could find, and they would have had to stop me. Ain't no way I'm gonna stand there and allow that to my people. You know, we have to start stepping up and all that stopping and videotaping and all this stuff. We got to start applying pressure to them.
Yes.
And let them see how it feels. And that's what it's gonna take, because, like you said, they're not gonna change their attitude. You know, a lot of these white supremacists out here is not. You got I hear on different shows that are retarded as Kim, and it's not only Kim, it's more like him out here talking about wetness, self-defense, and all this on the show the other day and stuff. So we have to start fighting with what we know how. You know what I'm saying? And we got to stop it.
Because this system isn't changing. Because this system isn't changing. It's not changing. Let me tell you something, Kenny. When we first started this whole, one of the biggest issues on the platform for running for president and for President Biden and Vice President Harris was about how they were going to help pass the bill for the George Floyd bill and all of this legislation to have criminal justice reform, and to also make sure that there were stiffer penalties for these actions of police officers. Well, you know what? somehow they've gotten distracted and it hasn't happened. So what I'm saying is that at some point we're gonna have to understand, black folks then got so politically correct around here. I ain't never seen nothing like it. But I don't know what make them think that the way that we were freed from slavery, the way that we got through the civil rights movement was being so civil. It's civil unrest is what got us through those hardships and to demand justice. It was the civil unrest, but the civil unrest needs to be directed towards those who are attacking our people. That is the only way that this is going to change. And I'm with you about that. I'm with you about that, about us being around all of these officers and videotaping.
You know what's sad, Nicole? We would kill each other, fight each other.
Yes, we will.
Stuff like this happened, we would stand back and say, stop it. We should have been tearing them behinds up out there while it was for them out there. Because if you're going to disrespect us and not give us respect, then you get the same treatment. You know how we was taught. Respect those who respect you.
That's
now,
right.
We understand we got some good officers out there.
Yes.
But there was devils out there, and they should have been treated like the devil. And we got to stop attacking each other. Get off our behind. Vote these clowns out in the city of Detroit, Roy and Benson and all these clowns in the city council, and get this mayor out of here and quit whining and step up to the plate. And black folks got to wake up. Wake up. Y'all, I'm so sick of this.
Me too.
I'm pissed to the highest pissed-outy, if that's the word, but I'm tired of it.
I'm tired of it too.
We sit back and ain't saying a darn thing, but we gonna raise hell over the phone or over TV. Let's get out and fight. We got good people running like yourself. We got good people running like others out there, and we sit back talking about, no, we gonna put other people in the race. Stop putting all these folks in the race. You know darn well you ain't gonna win. You want your name on something? Get by a billboard. You know what I'm saying? And quit sitting up there talking about you can win. You're dividing up the votes. And the only way we gonna win is we come together. Ain't saying you can't run, but if you know that, if I know damn well I can't win the race, I'm not getting in the race.
Because you just getting in the way. Because that's getting in the race, and you know you can't win. It's just getting in the way. You got that right, Kenny.
And people don't like it. I don't give a darn, because the truth is the light. And if you can't take it, then go down the basement where it's dark at. Thank you for taking my call.
Thank you, Kenny.
I appreciate it.
I appreciate you too. And you know what? And that's so true about city council. You so worried about suing the protesters, but what are you doing to make sure that we have the resources in our neighborhood to make sure that we have better police and we increase safety in the neighborhoods? I didn't tell you guys this, but the city's administration doesn't want to support our revision. Listen to this, keep your ears open. They oppose our revision in the charter for police officers to have an annual mental health exam, just once a year, instead of once every 4 or 5 years. I have to go back and look. So we put in a charter that the police officers will have to have a mental evaluation, psychological evaluation once a year. They said it'll cost, they claim it will cost $20 million a year. How much it's gonna cost you if these officers keep getting out here committing this police brutality? How much that's gonna cost you in a lawsuit? And you talking about how much it's gonna cost you for a mental health exam? I was thinking, now here's a thought. Now y'all might disagree with me. Let me know if you do. Instead of promoting that the police are now getting new vehicles that are Challengers, right? We get new vehicles for the police department every year. That's a big thing, right? So instead of promoting about all of these new vehicles, and don't get me wrong, they should have good equipment to go out and do their job. But now we gonna have, the Challengers, the ones that's doing all of the speed and to keep ended up in these accidents. Now the police officer is gonna have some Challengers. So instead of investing in bull crap like that, why don't you invest in making sure that these officers have these evaluations? That's just a thought. How could you be opposed to that? That says that something is wrong with you. You know what that also says is that you don't want to make sure that you take preventive measures from some of the things that are happening. I mean, listen, we have some good officers, but even some of those officers who are great at the work that they do, and they going out here to actually protect and serve instead of to, you know, do harm to the community. They also suffer from trauma and PTSD. It's just a fact. You know, let's go back to what happened last year on San Juan. When the brother Hakeem, he had shot at the officer. Now listen, I'm not about to get into the specifics, but I want you to picture this. That bullet went right past his head. You're not going to tell me that you mentally right to this day after something like that happened. To have somebody shoot so close and range to you with your face, I'm just process that. Because even if you're not an officer, if you just, that's just human nature. That has to do something to you mentally. But what I'm saying is, I don't think it should have to take for that to happen for an officer to have to go through a psychological evaluation. There are a lot of incidents that happen, and more importantly, we need to continue to do these evaluations so we can make sure that, you know what, y'all got it right the first time. You shouldn't just evaluate them as they're going through training and that entire process. It should be an annual evaluation. Maybe if they had one for this Chauvin and his crew, you would have found out that he doesn't need to be on the streets. But you're going to tell me in the city of Detroit, that's too large of an expense? But you can find money for $9 million in bike lanes. You can find funding, tax abatements to give away when somebody tell us they're going to give us affordable housing and they give us some empty parking lots. I just say you find money for, you can find money for the mayor's girlfriend and her Make the Date Foundation, but you can't find money to make sure that these people, that these officers receive an evaluation. You can't find money for that. Something is wrong here with the council and the mayor's office who's opposing that. In the day and time when we have cases like George Floyd, and I want you guys to think about something. We knew it was downhill when Trayvon Martin was murdered. And you know what? And they let that jerk out and he living his good life. When they killed Tamir Rice, we knew when we didn't stop it then, it was going to keep going. Now, what are we going to do to stop this? And I'm going to just tell you, protesting downtown in all of these different cities is not going to get it. It's not working. The effort is great. I'm passionate about it too, but I'm telling you that it's not working. Let's take another caller. Good morning and welcome to the Nicole Small Show.
Hey.
Oh, good morning.
How you doing?
Good.
Let me say this, and this is not directed towards you. This is directed toward the Negro living in our community.
Mm-hmm.
And I firmly believe that Negroes outnumber Black folks, because Black folks understand what you're saying. They're going to understand what I'm saying. And if we don't believe that Negroes outnumber Black folks, then I say, look at our conditions. And you tell me, is there more Black folks living in Detroit or Negroes?
Mm.
And I'll say this. I ain't singing no more. I ain't marching with no bullhorns. I ain't walking around nothing. If we ain't about going to their faces and shaming them, if we ain't about making them feel uncomfortable or feel the pain, or as Martin Luther King said, redistribute the pain, then I ain't showing up no more. Because that's a losing situation. They love it when we march.
They do.
They love it when we show up with a bullhorn. Because that's nothing. How they gonna hear you on the 13th floor of the city hall and you down there with a bullhorn talking about what do we want and when do we want it? What is it? I mean, we got to be strategic. We got to work smarter, not harder. Now, just like you said, how about 100 people show up in their driveway? Now that's something now, because now the neighbors gonna put pressure on us for us.
Yep.
Because the neighbors don't want it on their block.
That's right.
And let me ask you this. We look at the Panthers. We look at Malcolm. We look at Martin. We look at Medgar. We look at Fannie Lou Hamer. We look at Harriet Tubman. How in the hell would they allow people like Gary Brown Conrad Mallett, Chantel Jenkins, James Tate, Andre Spivey, Brenda Jones, Scott Benson, Gabe Leland to walk around here comfortable. They wouldn't allow that. They will not allow that. So we continue to disrespect our ancestors, but yeah, we want to talk about we in the Kwanzaa. How you in the Kwanzaa? You don't practice none of the principles. And you can tell we don't practice the principles. Look at how we live it.
That's right.
You got Negroes writing home letters, goodwill letters, because Dan Gilbert would say he's gonna give you $500 million over 10 years. Now that's sick. We are sick. If he got $618 million in tax abatement on the Hudson site alone, and he give you back $500 million, and correct me if I'm wrong, with my Detroit public school math, he's still winning.
Well, wait a minute. It gets better than that. And I want people to be clear about this. They think they're gonna get $500 million towards their taxes. That is not what he said. What he said is he's gonna invest $500 million into, first of all, his foundation. Wait a minute, into his foundation, okay, which is supposedly will go towards neighborhood improvement in Detroit. It's only $15 million that he has specifically designated to go to helping pay back taxes. I'm not against him giving the 15 millions. What I'm saying is we hear these numbers and we see a white person doing something and we get all giddy and up in arms because we don't sit there and listen. The facts are, he said 500 million into his foundation, which gonna be a tax deductible. Okay, like he's worth 34 something billion dollars, so he can do that. This is a drop in the bucket, right? This is what you're supposed to do when you have that kind of money. But he's not giving you 500 million. Right, it's not 500 million towards your taxes. It's 500 million into his foundation, and it's going to go towards Detroit neighborhood improvement. And I see what I want folks to understand is this word neighborhood improvement is often loosely used because that's what they said proposal N was, neighborhood improvement. How the hell you going to improve my neighborhood when you tearing down more houses than you rehabbing? Okay. Absolutely. No other community would accept that. And then here's another thing. These fools listen to the 500 million and say, oh, that's our $600 million they overtaxed us. No, it's not, fool. It is not your $600 million. I don't care if he invested $500 million in his money. It has nothing to do with the fact that the city overtaxed you over $600 million. And you a damn fool if you don't keep trying to push the city to give you a tax credit. You need to take Dan Gilbert's money because you know what Dan Gilbert should be investing into helping people save his home, because you know why? He too has profited off of this new process of doing this whole bundle, this land bundle grab that they do, where he got to buy bundles of property for pennies on the dollar. Who did that cost go towards? Detroiters. So he ought to do it. Quit acting like somebody being your friend and like he talking about it was on his heart. Well, brother, you should have been going into cardiac arrest a long time ago, because your heart should have been real heavy a long time ago with all the benefits you done got off of poor black folks in this city, because you got a doggone treacherous mayor and a rubber stamping bunch of black folks around here because you give them $3,000 towards their campaign. They gonna sell all of us out and they gonna support us having our land stolen from us. You don't even get me started. Don't get me started.
Well, you're proving my point. This is exactly how easy it is to fool these Negroes. This ain't nothing but a political stunt. Period.
Thank you.
Period. That's all it is. You ain't gonna get nobody. And you ever notice a code? Whenever it comes to give back to native Detroiters, it's got to be over a period of time. When they overcharge you at Target, do cashiers tell you come back? If they overcharge you $9,
they give you your stuff right back there then.
$4 a day, and then come back next week and I give you the other $5.
That's right.
I want my money now.
That's right.
They always telling us they gonna give us something over years, like they did over in Grand River and Losser. They gonna put $1 million over 7 years. That ain't no money.
Listen, I don't trust it. And you got city council up on Flashpoint. That's right. You know, go get him, Dan, or whatever. Now, I told you yesterday. Now, that James Tate was the one to talk about he got to read the details or whatever. Well, I read it, and I say, take the money now. I want y'all to take the money from Dan Gilbert because it's your money. It's your money anyway. It's not his money. It's the money that he has taken from Detroiters is what I'm telling you. And you better be careful about neighborhood improvement because neighborhood improvement often equals Negro removal. Now, I'm just telling you, that's usually the result. And you need to understand these code words that they using, and they get you to repeat them, right? Oh, this is neighborhood improvement or whatever. Oh, they talking about getting you and your people up out your own damn neighborhood, the house you've been living in forever. That's what this is about.
Look at what they did at Grand River and Lhasa. They got the nerve to call the building the Obama building.
Yes.
They said it's affordable rent. And a 1-bedroom studio starts at $875. The 2-bedroom is at $1,275. And ain't none of them Negroes over there can afford that rent.
None.
But they call that neighborhood improvement.
Look,
and they call that affordable housing.
Look, over there on the north end, because I want to talk about this next week, though, hopefully on Monday, you got that Vanguard over there doing this hustle, right? And I'm going to get back to the subject. I'm sorry, y'all. But Vanguard back at doing their hustle over there, and they talking about, oh, how we going to bring housing and stuff. Do you know the unit's going to start off at $1,250? Listen here. $1,250, that's what you're going to start off at? For the apartment, right. And I bet you they're gonna be small as a Cracker Jack box. But the problem is we keep I want this house torn down in our neighborhood. If they would have started rehabbing them houses in the beginning back in 2015 instead of tearing down everything and neglecting the rest of these homes, we would have more homes in better condition that we can rehab for less money. But they didn't do that. But I hear you, brother. I'm tired of the slow walking and the slow singing, and we not getting in their face, because that's what needs to happen. That's the only way the stuff gonna change.
People, anybody that makes you feel uncomfortable, redistribute the pain. That's the bottom line. You know, I'm just glad we didn't need 2 senators to get the Senate in Washington and Michigan, because we wouldn't have got it.
No.
Because we ain't got no Stacey Abrams here.
No.
Because none of these Negroes, all these gatekeepers, they just block it. And no. What they say in the neighborhood, they cop block it. No,
you know what the problem is? Even if we did have a Stacey Abrams here, we don't have what's the sister's name? Melanie, what's the name from Black Women's Round Table, and Latasha. She had a network of people around her. The problem isn't that we don't have a Stacey Abrams, it's that we don't have a mindset of enough people to make sure that we take back our power and use our own political power for our own benefit. That's the doggone problem. You might have a Stacey Abrams or two. The problem is you don't have a collective. The way that they organized down there in Georgia and came together and supported that sister, the problem here is that everybody gonna want to have the title. Everybody gonna want the credit. And they be a bunch of do-nothing Negroes. All they want to do is grandstand. You start talking about doing some work, you know they get real light on you. They get real light now. They get real light on you when you start talking about doing some work and really mobilizing and working. When you start talking about standing on the front line, oh, they be way in the back. It'd be like being in the nosebleed seats at Ford Field.
Absolutely. Well, I can tell you this. I can get one thing that I can guarantee you is that me and my family gonna support you for council. Period.
Thank you.
You know, we've got to get 5 votes on that council. If we can't get the mayor office, we got to get 5 votes to the mayor.
And it's non-negotiable.
It can be a counteractive to the mayor, because it's never supposed to be a rubber stamp to the mayor. Never.
Nope.
Never.
Nope.
And you got the power of the budget. All you gotta do is hold that budget up, and you.
That's your power. That's your power.
Exactly.
That's your power. It's like giving a kid an allowance. They don't do what you tell them to do. You don't give them their money. It's the same thing. Even a street hustler understand that. It's quid pro quo on the street. You ain't giving them a good product, then they not going to pay you for it. I mean, goodness gracious, this is just simple. And these folks don't want to do it. But thank you so much for calling. I appreciate you. Have a good one. You too. Bye-bye. So you heard it here today. I think we definitely need to change our approach to how we address these issues. when it comes to these killings, this injustice in our own community, we need to go directly to the source. I stand behind that. Now, some of you might take it like, oh, was she doing this? She said, no, what I'm telling you is if you're going to get out here for 100 days and 100 nights, I'm saying go directly to the problem. It'll make you feel better. It really and truly would. I mean, think about it. The majority of people that were impacted by these riots and everything over the years didn't even have anything to do with the killing of George Floyd or any of the other people who have been slain. But if you start going to their house, I'm going to tell you what's going to happen. They're going to start thinking twice before they walk out that door. That's what I'm trying to tell you. So they're going to think about what they were hired to do, which is to protect and serve. And all of this animosity and angst that they have against Black folks and people of color and poor folks, they going to learn how to suppress it and exercise it in another way, instead of getting out here thinking that you could just shoot first and then pretend that you're the victim later because you were scared. That's the only way you're going to get them to change. They don't give a damn about the system, because you know what? They got the system on lock. They got it on lock. From usually it is the prosecutors who are supporting them, the DA who's supporting them. But more importantly, you got rank and file within the police department. Then you have the judges who are on their side. Then the dang on law. Look at the law. It's weak when it comes to these issues. That's why Derek is not being charged with first-degree murder. But I'm just going to say this, maybe we need to get a note together. Maybe I need to call Color of Change and see if they could get a petition going online for us to sign and say, we would just like to see a reenactment of what happened with George Floyd to prove us wrong, that it was the officer who killed him. Prove us wrong. That's all that I'm asking. You know what? We could be wrong sometimes too, but we're not on this one. We're not wrong on this one. It was the officer who killed him. And that's a sin and a shame. That's a sin and a shame. And since George Floyd, we have had other heinous acts of crime similar to this. The poor brother who was shot in the back all of those times, who paralyzed. It just goes on and on and on. At some point, I guess we'll get sick and tired of being sick and tired, as Fannie Lou said. So, guys, think about it. I hope you have a great week. I will be back here next Monday at 8 o'clock on the Nicole Small Show. Be safe. I'll talk to you soon.
Tune in to the Nicole Small Show, Mondays and Tuesdays from 8 to 10 a.m., where you'll get straight talk with no chaser. If you miss a show, then you won't know. Be sure to like and subscribe on YouTube and Facebook.
Protect the vote, Detroit, with Beverly Kendall Walker for Detroit City Clerk. Be the change you want to see in the world. So protect the vote, August 3rd, 2021. Call or text Beverly Kendall Walker for more information at 313-618-9749. That's 313-618-9749.